Ever find yourself like chasing something? Maybe it's the newest gadget you just gotta have, that promotion at work, a bigger house, you know the drill, and then you stop and it's like, wait, why? What's the real deal behind wanting this stuff? So today we're going deep on those core human needs that kind of drive all our choices and how getting them can make for, a way better life.
It's kind of wild how easily we mix up, like needs versus wants, right?
Oh, totally.
Needs, those are non-negotiables. Got to have them for well-being. Can't really thrive without them.
Yeah.
Wants, those add the flavor, make life interesting, but not essential to like our core being good.
Exactly. And to help us figure out those needs, we're diving into this book, Potrzeby to podstawy, which means needs are fundamental.
I like it.
Right. Catchy. It's by this Polish author, Agnieszka Skowrońska. What I dig about it, it's not some stuffy textbook, Skowrońska, she mixes in exercises, real-life stuff with these solid psychology theories on needs. Makes it super relatable.
Totally agree. She's got this way of making needs actually useful, like how can we use this to grow, personally even. She gets into how understanding your own needs helps with your job, even business decisions, which I find fascinating.
And get this, the book breaks down our needs into 6 categories. I'm telling you, get ready for some aha moments because you are going to see yourself in these.
Oh yeah, these categories are key. They help you peel back the layers, figure out the why behind what we do. What's the root need making us want that thing, Super interesting stuff.
It's like the needs are the engine and we're just trying to figure out where we're driving, right?
Exactly.
All right, so starting with the foundation, those survival needs, these are pretty obvious. Air, water, food, shelter, can't live without them.
And it's crazy how fast you realize that when even one's a bit off, right? Stuffy nose, suddenly breathing easy is all you care about. Or that like hunger pang hits. Food's number one on your mind.
No kidding, it's like our body's alarm system going off.
Oh.
All right, moving on to category 2, safety and security. Man, does this one resonate with me. The book lists stuff like safety of our body, resources, family, health, property. That feeling of being secure in the world,
And that need, it drives so much of what we do, even if we don't realize it. Like why we get insurance, put those security systems in our homes, even why we want a stable job, it all comes back to needing safety and security.
100%. It's like we're always trying to build that sense of like solid ground, knowing what to expect in our lives. Okay, which takes us to category 3, love and belonging. I love how she really makes a point of how much us humans need to feel accepted, loved, like we're part of something.
This is where she tells this really powerful story about teenagers and how strongly they feel it when they don't belong. Really highlights how much this need affects how we act with others, how we see ourselves, especially in those like coming of age years.
For sure. Now this next one, self-actualization, that really speaks to me. It feels less, concrete than needing safety, but just as important. What's Skowrońska's take on why it matters so much?
So Skowrońska, her take on this self-actualization thing, which she actually puts with autonomy, is that if we don't pay attention to those needs, we end up feeling like really unfulfilled.
Right.
Like you're lacking inspiration, that's stuck in a rut feeling.
Yeah.
Almost like you're trapped by, your own life.
Yeah.
It's about really living as who you are deep down, chasing those things you're passionate about so you can like reach your full potential.
Makes total sense, yeah. Like we've got this drive inside to be the best us possible, and if we ignore that, boom, those negative feelings pop up. All right, so category 5. This one, I gotta say, it really threw me for a loop when I first read it. Connection to the world. Sounds kind of deep, right? She's talking about needs like beauty, harmony, feeling connected to nature, not exactly what you expect next to you, like food and water on the list.
Yeah. What Skowrońska shows us, and she does it beautifully, is that when we get those needs met, it often brings this sense of peace, of like being okay. It's about understanding we're part of something bigger, finding beauty and meaning in the world, feeling connected to something beyond just ourselves.
Yeah, it's like tapping into that feeling you get when you're out in nature or when a song or a painting really moves you.
Exactly.
Okay, and last but not least, category 6, joy of life. Now, this is a category I can get behind for sure. She's talking about play, humor, ease. It's like she's giving us permission to just enjoy the fun pulse of life,
She is, totally. And she's got this great example of how someone might get that playfulness in through like a hobby. Could be anything. Gardening, playing music, hanging with friends. Heck, even collecting stamps, right?
Yeah.
It's about finding those things that make you happy, that bring that lightness and fun back into life.
Love that. Speaking of wants versus needs, you know what really hit me in the book? how Skowrońska talks about how advertising messes with that line. Like we start thinking we need that new phone or that fancy car, but it's really just a want dressed up in a fancy outfit.
So important. And the book uses these really sharp examples of ads, especially for like luxury stuff, food, even experiences, to show how companies do this. They're playing on our need to belong, to have status, even that security need, to get us to buy their stuff.
And she points out how much kids get hit with this. Think about it. A kid sees a commercial, that newest toy tied to their favorite show, suddenly they need it. But let's be real, we as adults fall for this marketing stuff too.
Oh, absolutely. We grow up and it's like we create our own set of needs, right? Latest smartphone, always being online, or even that first coffee of the day, non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Easy to get sucked into the whole consumerism thing without even noticing it.
Totally. Speaking of getting sucked in, this whole flow state idea Skowrońska talks about, man, that resonated with me. Like, I find myself totally lost when I'm, insert personal anecdote related to a hobby/activity. Hours just disappear. What's Skowrońska say about using those activities to figure out what we're really passionate about?
You just perfectly described flow state.
Yeah.
And yet, and she gets into that. One of her big tips is to look back at what you were into as a kid, or those things you've done where you completely lose track of time. You're so into it. Those activities can give you clues about what needs you have, what you're passionate about, without even realizing it.
So it's like those things we naturally gravitate towards, the stuff that really lights us up, that might be fulfilling these deeper needs that we're not even, consciously thinking about.
Exactly. And to show this, Skowrońska uses the example of someone who loves, like, crime novels.
Yeah.
What need could that be fulfilling, right? Maybe it's the need for something to make you think, the desire to escape, or even just needing some quiet time alone. It's about seeing what draws us in and then asking, okay, what deeper need might this be satisfying?
I like it. And Skowrońska, she doesn't just leave us with this, theoretical understanding of needs, right? She takes it a step further, talking about making life choices that line up with those needs. Like, if your job isn't doing it for you, maybe it's time for a change.
Exactly. The book really stresses how important it is to find work that not only uses your skills and what you're good at, but also fits with your needs, your values. She uses starting a business as an example, which lets people create a work life that really clicks with who they are and what they find fulfilling,
And talking about businesses that seem to have this whole meeting needs thing down pat, Skowrońska's got this fascinating case study on IKEA. What's brilliant about their approach is how they've figured out how to understand what their customers need, like really get it. They don't just do surveys or focus groups. They get in there and observe. They do this ethnographic research, which means home visits, seeing how people use furniture in their actual lives. That's giving you insights you wouldn't get from a survey.
Oh, for sure. It's like taking market research to a whole new level.
Right. Instead of just asking, what do you want in a sofa? They watch how people use their sofas, the problems they have, the workarounds they've come up with. And then they use that to design better furniture. It's genius.
It is. And she gives a great example. Remember how we talked about how IKEA tailors its approach to different places? Well, through their research, they learned that in Krakow, Poland, apartments often have these long, narrow kitchens. So what did IKEA do? They designed kitchens specifically for those kinds of spaces.
This is smart.
Right. They saw a need and created a solution to perfectly meet that need. It's the perfect example of how getting to know your audience, truly understanding what they need, can lead to products and services that really hit home. And it just goes to show how important it is to go beyond the surface, dig a little deeper, to uncover those needs that people might not even be telling you directly.
Totally. So as we've seen, understanding those core human needs, our own and others, it can be really powerful stuff. It's like getting a new set of glasses, You see things in a new light.
Totally. It's like you're, suddenly aware of this whole other dimension to your choices. It can really change how you see things.
100%. And you know what? It's not just about us figuring our needs out either, right?
Yeah.
When we start to recognize the needs of the people around us, our partners, kids, the folks we work with, that can lead to, more solid relationships, more empathy, feeling more connected overall.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it can even change how we buy things. Think about it. If we really get what need we're trying to meet when we're shopping, we become more conscious about it,
Yeah.
We're making choices that actually line up with what we care about instead of just giving in to those impulse buys or those slick ad campaigns,
Taking back that control, right? Being more mindful about what we're letting into our lives. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive on human needs, I want to leave you with something to chew on. Think about something you bought recently. Could be anything. Those new shoes you had to have, a fancy coffee maker, maybe even a vacation, right?
Yeah, and here's the big question. What need were you really aiming for with that purchase? Was it legit, something you actually needed for your well-being? Or was it maybe a want, all dressed up to look like a need, something that promised you the moon but maybe left you wanting more in the end? Doing this kind of self-check, it can be really eye-opening. It's the first step to making those choices that lead to a life that feels truer, more fulfilling, you know?
It's like Skowrońska says in the book, understanding our needs is like finding a treasure map. It guides us toward a life that is rich, meaningful, and truly our own.
I love that.
Yeah.
And with that, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about today.
We sure have. So until next time, keep exploring those needs, and remember, sometimes the most fulfilling journey is the one we take inward.